I want to say welcome to everybody who's joined us on the call, and also to people who've signed up for the call but are going to get the recording here in the future. We have quite a diverse audience who's with us today, everyone from sole practitioners to leaders of teams to medium and large size companies. And we know that people are in varying degrees of experience with AI adoption in their business environments. And we're hoping to touch on enough points that everybody here, no matter what your background, will be able to take away something of relevance. We know that many people are experimenting with AI in the workplace. There are a variety of research, we'll draw on that today, but we know about 3/4 of employees are using AI at work, yet only about 1/3 of them have received any training. And this is usually because organizations don't yet have a coherent strategy about AI adoption, and that is really what we're here to talk about today. There's a lot of hype around AI, which I'm sure you've noticed, how it might replace people, what jobs will be lost or what jobs will be reoriented, what it's doing to our brains. You know, every day there's a multitude of articles that we can find on artificial intelligence and its impact. And so there's also a lot of contradictory information and research out there. So today, we want to sort through some of the key considerations for building a successful AI adoption strategy. With Worldview Intelligence and Theory Analytic-A, we are looking at AI adoption both through a workplace culture lens and through an IT lens, and you'll see a blend of that today in what we'll be discussing. What we're going to be covering is the role of leadership in AI strategy development and adoption, why determining the problem or opportunity for artificial intelligence, why determining the problem or opportunity AI is intended to address is a key starting point when you're thinking about AI adoption, and then what do you need to think about in terms of alignment of technology and strategy. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the impact on people and workplace culture and the need for policy creation and implementation in order to have a really sound AI adoption strategy. We'll share our thoughts in the next 45 minutes or so. There'll be 10 minutes or so for Q&A, but please feel free to drop your questions in the question box at any time. We'll keep an eye on it. And when we wrap up the call, we'll let you know what you can expect in an email follow-up, which we expect to come out early next week. So to begin, we're all gonna do a self-introduction, and I'll just get us started by saying that I'm Kathy Jourdain. I'm the founder of Worldview, co-founder of Worldview Intelligence and Healthy Workplace Culture Initiatives. I learned about the power and responsibility of leadership at a very young age as the CEO of the Atlantic division of a health charity here in Canada. There, I experienced the direct impact of leadership when I stepped into it and when I didn't. And I have to say some of those lessons may have been a bit harsh, but also powerful. And this has inspired the work that I do around building cohesive teams, leadership capacity, and healthy workplace cultures. I stay tuned into the trends and the deeper patterns that impact the workplace, of which right now, as we all know, artificial intelligence is having an increasing impact. Jerry, over to you.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, I'm Jerry Nagel. I'm the other co-founder of Worldview Intelligence and Healthy Workplace Culture Initiatives. I have a master's degree in economics and a PhD in social and behavioral science. My dissertation focused on worldviews and how we can understand our own worldview, another's worldview, and how that understanding can bridge differences, improve creativity, and lead to better problem solving. I've been exploring large language models for the past 2 years for research and writing purposes. And during the past year, I've been looking closely at how interactions with AI impact human behavior, especially concerning workplace culture. This work intersects closely with my worldview research and consulting. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Jerry. My name is Christopher George. I'm the CEO and founder of Theory Analytic-A. With over 20 years of combined service in the United States Air Force and multiple federal agencies, I've dedicated my career to service of others, building resilience and innovative technology solutions. At Theory Analytica, we bridge the gap between people and technology. We turn friction and rapid change into opportunity by implementing AI the right way. That's a big point. And we help organizations optimize efficiencies by reducing risk and strengthening operations. And another key factor is we empower teams to make smarter decisions and thrive in today's global environment. Thank you.
And good morning. My name is Will Stentz. Happy to be here with Kathy, Jerry, and Chris. I'm a key advisor here over at Theory Analytica. I have over 15 years of experience within data and analytics in both consumer markets as well as business to business. I bring my experience in helping people and data mesh in a very healthy and proactive way. And that passion is key to the success here at Theory Analytica. Artificial intelligence right now is the next big chapter in business when it comes to the challenges that exist both in and outside the workplace. A successful implementation can empower employees and managers alike, but done wrong, you might find yourself in solutions that don't really solve real problems. So happy to be here with such an awesome group.
Great. Thanks, Will, Kathy, Chris, and to everyone here, thanks for joining us. I'll begin our conversation today by talking about the critical role leadership plays in an organization in successful implementation of artificial intelligence tools. In fact, leadership plays a role in all of the elements we're going to talk about during this roundtable. Now, AI tools come in many forms. Programs designed to accomplish specific tasks like fraud detection, or assistants like Siri or Alexa that help with tasks, or one customized for your company, or a persona like friendly customer service bots. Regardless of what AI tool you are implementing, it's important that leadership approach AI adoption with a human-centered mindset. Bringing AI into an organization is not like a software upgrade. AI learns, it adopts, and it influences human behavior. Because AI tools, like assistants or personas, for example, often mimic humans, AI creates more emotional responses during the implementation of the tool. Responses can vary from excited to resistance. A go-to study indicates 66% of employees don't trust AI. It can go from curiosity to fear. The stories of people losing their jobs have become commonplace in many business magazines. Or it can go from happiness to anger, often because roles are changing. And there is the possibility that some employees may lose their job, which can create feelings of guilt amongst those that are able to keep their job. Two important keys to success for leadership is to be transparent and to communicate extensively regarding bringing AI into the organization. The more transparent leadership is about the process, the greater the trust amongst employees will be regarding the changes being made. Trust can be built by communicating three important things. First, why is AI being brought into the organization? Explain how it will benefit the organization and, importantly, how it will benefit employees, like reducing repetitive work or creating opportunities for more collaboration or innovation. That recent go-to survey indicates a significant number of IT leaders in companies admit that AI tools have been adopted without careful consideration or a clear plan. Clarity of purpose is essential. Second, what is the impact this may have on employees and the organization, and what is hoped to be accomplished? Acknowledge that roles and responsibilities could change. Recognize that the impacts might be personal and could require rethinking how work is done. That same go-to survey indicates that 54% of employees are using AI improperly at work, and of those, 77% don't regret how they use it. So clarity of use of guidelines is essential. This is a real policy concern. And third, how will the organization deal with any changes that take place that impact workplace culture? Let employees know that you have a plan for moving forward through the transition, including training where needed. Here is where you can address any fears people may have. Here is also a place where you can describe how you will stay true to the organization's values and ethics and a healthy workplace culture. And if effort is not given to establishing trust in the process, it's possible that employees will also lose trust in leadership. And we know once trust is lost, it's very hard to regain. Good communication includes listening as well as explaining. Create opportunities for your employees across all departments to ask questions. Don't view this as just an IT issue. Whether your company is small or large, there will be diversity of worldviews. Taking time to listen can help leaders be strategic in explaining the why, what, and how of AI implementation. Good listening builds trust. Finally, remember that good leaders model behavior. Don't ask employees to do things you wouldn't do. So a few key takeaways: set a clear purpose for why you are bringing AI into the organization. Be transparent about any impacts you anticipate and how you deal with them. Communicate. Remember, trust is in the process, and goals can be built and it can be easily lost. Model the adoption. Stay true to the organization's values, ethics, and culture. Will, can you dive more deeply into why being clear about the business problem or opportunity being addressed is so important?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jerry. So understanding what the problem is can do two very important things. One, it helps unify the people that you're working with and the teams that you have. You all have a common objective, a common thing you're trying to solve for, which brings in more acceptance. It's an incredibly important piece of that implementation puzzle. Where do you find the problem? Well, when we were doing advanced analytics over the course of, say, 10, 15 years ago, one of the core things that we always looked at was, what is a problem that we have today that we want advanced analytics to solve versus going the opposite direction? We have this model, let's go apply it to something. And what always ended up happening was the model would fail. People wouldn't adopt it because it was a solution in search of a problem. So starting with the problems that you might be facing in your organization today is really important. So see how AI can help try to figure out those problems and how it can help solve those problems for you. You're going to wind up with a solution that not only helps unify the individuals and creates adoption, but it also shows the tool has purpose. So to get you started, there are some typical challenges you might be able to look at.
So, hey, Will, again, Jerry, thank you. You brought up some really key points here, and that's something that we really stress at Theory Analytica. And one of the big points I want to highlight that you mentioned is basically clear goals. Leaders need to explain why AI is being used and how it's going to help their employees. And if you don't have leadership support, if you don't have employee openness, because again, you mentioned there's a huge number of individuals that are using AI, but they're also using it in inappropriate or incorrect ways, and they've admitted that they're willing to use that AI in that fashion. Also having strict ethics and focus on the type of privacy, the fairness, the things that shape the seriousness around how the AI is supposed to be used and governed within your organization. So thank you, Will and Jerry, for bringing up those key points. So let's go a little bit further, though. Let's look at the individual and the team. So we're going to talk about what are some things that AI can be used for and how to help you get some time back. These are some common themes that you'll see in articles or posted in news. And they're basically very simple. What can I do to get back some of my time? Well, sure. They'll talk about generating reports, maybe helping you craft an email, helping you respond to a particular person that you don't know how to understand their language, but you're trying to figure out how can I leverage this tool to help me better explain what I'm trying to get across. I mean, those are very simplistic tools and ways to use it and help you get to the next step. But there's one thing I will stress, and we talk about it at Theory Analytica. You have AI, and then you have what we call augmented intelligence, or AI plus. Okay, AI plus, and there's a difference. So AI, when you hear AI, it's a machine replacing human. That's what we hear. It's a machine replacing the human process, and it's helping you make decisions. Where augmented intelligence, AI plus, is a machine aiding human processing, or it's suggesting decisions. So for example, we were working with one of our clients, and in that client, they were running into a number of problems. And one of those problems was, I need to help with market research, and I need to identify these types of products in a manufacturing setting as a small business. I need to know how to stay ahead of the trends. What product in the candy business, this is a candy manufacturing company, how do I identify the type of product that is being looked at a regular basis, that's getting a lot of social media trends? Is just basically every major industry that I work with, that they work with, is essentially telling you, oh, I want chocolate covered marshmallow candy. Oh, wow. Well, if you are a company like this that designs the candy, that manufactures the candy, that controls the logistics of the candy, well, I really need to know what that trend is. And one of the teams identified on there, they were running behind, taking them tasks for 3 to 4 hours to do a single market research on a particular product. So as a CEO and a COO comes in and says, I need to make decisions now, not later, because as we know in a business, your time is money. And if you're spending 4 hours or 3 or 4 hours to do one simple market research, well, maybe there's a solution there that you need to identify. And one of the things that we did with our client is we sat down, we found out the type of language they use, what their teams were good at. We accounted for their experiences and their assumptions, and we generated a solution using a custom designed AI chatbot that specifically targeted that market research and the proven data sources that the team at the sales and marketing side and the CEO recommended that they do when they are looking for the latest trends. And we provided them a solution and access to that solution. But if they were to try to do this on their own, they would have just, again, you're a CEO or you're in a conference and you're hearing all your buddies say, this AI tool is amazing, you should adopt it. I've saved all this money. Oh, I've got rid of these positions. But the fact of the matter is, you've missed some really key elements, and Jerry really hit the nail on the head on those. How does people adapt to it? Does the leaders in the room understand what AI is? And like my partner says, do they understand what they're trying to solve? Instead of working from back to front, they need to take it on from the front. So another example I want to give people is AI and AI Plus. So AI Plus is like you're the head coach of a sports team. Out here in Minnesota, my son plays hockey. Okay. And as a coach, I need my assistant head coach to tell me and provide solutions for things that I don't have the ability to work on, or I don't have time to dedicate because I'm focused on other taskers. Well, AI plus augmented intelligence, think of it as your assistant head coach. It is helping you with day-to-day tasks, like maybe some data entry. Maybe they're doing some processes on some reports. And that data you can then get provided and allow you to review, because again, you're the human. You are the driver in this seat. AI or an AI plus is just a tool and a resource that you use to help you do your job or help you more efficient so you get your time back. And that time is valuable because everyone will tell you we all have 24 hours in a day. And so that doesn't change. So finding ways to optimize your tools and resources in your respective section and then implementing it the correct way with getting commitment, buy-in, those are huge. So let me move on. Will, did you want to go ahead and bring up some other examples? I know you have some really good examples to bring up as well, sir.
Yeah, of course. So what I like about that example is it's within reach. It's something that's within AI capability. And what you're doing there, when, like Chris said, AI plus, it's AI, what you've done there is done AI plus the human, AI plus technology, and AI plus information. And the result is you can turn something around in far shorter amount of time, but it also gives you the space to make sure that the human is still involved and adding something that's really important, which is their experience. One of the things that I've seen in different environments is that threat. So somebody sits there and says, AI is threatening me because it thinks it knows more than I do, and I have X number of years of experience. You can all hear the conversation that's happening. If it's AI plus, it's no, you're using AI plus that person's experience, AI plus that person's intelligence, and it becomes much more acceptable at that point. And we found that to be a faster way to get there. There are other things that AI can solve. Look at what it's good at. So a way to figure out where a problem may exist and what it can solve is, even if you're a large company or small company, it's not going to really matter, because you probably already have AI tools just sitting there waiting for you. Lord knows that there's no shortage of salespeople right now probably beating down your doors telling you about the greatest new AI tool. But if you've got Microsoft Office, take a look at Copilot. Copilot can connect and help you with certain Office types tasks, like sorting through your emails, or helping with dictation, or summarizing meetings, all those kind of little things that give you an edge. If you've got Google, take a look at Gemini. It's another good platform. Or maybe you want to go someplace completely independent. Look at something like Perplexity, one of the industry leaders. The fact is that you're going to have a lot of existing tools that are going to start adding AI if they already haven't, because they almost have to. So when you're evaluating your system, determine which AI tool is going to integrate the best with your existing system and the existing places where your employees are already comfortable working, so that AI can help speed things up for them, so to speak. And just remember, like Jerry talked about before, there's a lot of hype going on right now about how much AI can do for you or something of that, and you're going to continue to hear that. Be careful. As we learned from, say, the advanced analytics boom, a lot of people say they're doing it, a lot of people aren't doing it, and some of the ones who are doing it, they're not really doing it well yet. So take a close look at, man, what do I need to do? How do I not let the hype drive me?
And Will, again, you're right. Again, don't get caught up in the hype. And we stress this because, again, I work in the federal space. I have very seasoned professionals in my network engineering team. And I had one particular engineer that absolutely refuses to adopt artificial intelligence in any way, shape, or form, which is a challenge, because under the US federal government, there is a ginormous push to have AI integrated in all of the federal government in the US side. So knowing that tells me that there is some challenges here, and this is an individual challenge. So if we're going to adopt AI and governance and tell our own staff that they have to use this solution, we better be very much on point and have that two-way communication going, because again, they may have some valid input, and if I'm just discounting it, then I'm failing as a leader. So that leads me into some of these key takeaways. AI and adoption of AI or AI plus, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Okay, the indicators that I'm going to highlight here in this key takeaway is just what indicators the organization is and what they should use if they're going to adopt AI and manage those changes. So one, clear goals. Leaders explain why AI is used and how it can help. Two, leadership support. Leaders back the change and then guide your employees through it. That is huge. Employee openness. Again, workers are curious. Some adopt it, but in some cases, there are some that are not willing to adopt it without proper support, or as Jerry mentioned, there is a fear. Like, if this replaces me, it's like, why am I going to do something that replaces me? I understand that fear. Training and investment, time and resources, provide to people, right? You need to provide them that resource, because it's hard to tell. It's like a sink or swim attitude is the term we use in the military. That's not always great. You can't, people expecting people to rise to the occasion is a false narrative. It should be, you rise to the level of your preparation. So train, and adopt it the proper way. Collaboration, departments, teams, share ideas. That's how you solve problems. That's, again, mentioned by Jerry. Ethics and focus is even bigger. Privacy, fairness, bias. Again, how do you safeguard employees and an organization when AI is used in an inappropriate way that could be considered misconstrued as harsh or even derogatory or anything of that nature? You need to make sure you protect that and protect your business and your employees and ensure that they're trained on what they can and can't do. And then last but not least is change experiences. Past changes were managed smoothly. So how do you take care of that? You learn from these. And again, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Anyway, all of those are the things that I brought up. Those are the key points. Again, I'm going to pass it back over because I think we segue a bit into the most important part, which is the human impact. And that's to you, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris and Will. You've definitely now we're in the area of human impact. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to do this panel discussion is because all of us are very aware of the need to tend to the human beings as we're thinking about AI adoption. Jerry talked about the role of leadership. Chris and Will really talked about identifying the business case for AI so that you actually have a solution instead of looking for solutions or looking for problems for the AI to address. And now I'm going to speak a little bit more specifically about the human impact, and I'm going to cover some of the fears that employees may have, what to know about human behavior and change, which is a pretty key element here, and I will have a few key takeaways as well. So we've already said that companies are investing significant amounts of money in the artificial intelligence, and they're not realizing even a fraction of the potential gains because they're not investing the similar or equivalent amount in people and in helping them have the skills to use the AI that you want them to use with consistency and to use it to its full capability. So a lot of people are in there, they're poking around, they're trying to figure it out on their own. But if you're investing in training them, then they have the greater potential to use it to the full capacity. So when we're providing training, then use of AI is not haphazard and it's not inconsistent. And it brings that consistency not just for individuals, but across the entire organization. Now, in addition to training considerations, there is often a lack of understanding of the typical reactions to change. And anytime we're talking about bringing in new AI or AI adoption, we're really talking about an organizational change or a culture change inside of the organization. So it's super helpful to know how people typically react to change in order to guide them through that change and to speed up the rate of potential adoption. And then, we could have a good plan in place, but we all know that the first place every good plan goes astray is as soon as we involve the human element. And so a solid understanding of the common emotional and behavioral reactions to change and having a good change management strategy that aligns with the AI adoption strategy is almost critical. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about how people might feel during the introduction and adoption of AI, the impact on a person's sense of identity, and it's been referenced here a little bit by the things that Chris and Will were talking about with some of the examples that they gave. The desire that we all feel for stability and certainty and how that gets upended when we start introducing new technologies. And then the need to engage people, not just thrust a plan upon them or thrust an AI upon them, and why training on AI is essential, and not just on the AI itself, but on policies. And after I speak, Jerry's going to talk a bit about policy development and what to think about there and why it's so important. And I really love what I think Chris just said, you rise to the level of your preparation. And that's really what we're talking about here as well. So to touch on some of the fears and worries that people may have inside of your organization, common worries are fear of job loss. Jerry mentioned that, and I think maybe Will mentioned that as well. And or shifting roles, so I've been working a particular way for a period of time, and now you're telling me I need to work a different way, and I don't even know if I can do that. Or I know personally with some of the AI, especially in the early days, I felt overwhelmed by all of the information and all of the possibilities that were out there. People are wondering if they're training their replacement because AI is going to replace them, and this all leads to resistance, and it can lead to identity challenges. And while all of this is going on, instead of increasing productivity, we're actually reducing it because people's attention is somewhere else. Another thing that people are worried about is whether or not AI is simply a way to monitor me and my activities rather than finding ways to help me improve my workflow. And one of the interesting things about that is that people are always looking for workarounds, and there's a ton of them that exist. And for AI that monitors your computer usage and whether or not you're moving your mouse or tracking it, there are automated mouse movement programs that people use to have that activity tracked, which is not real activity, but it's a way of working around my activities being monitored. Or for other people, they'll use two monitors, and one monitor is dedicated to work and the other monitor is dedicated to personal usage. And again, it's harder to track activity then. So there's always workarounds. And when we believe that our activity is being monitored, that has an impact on trust. And then that has an impact on our ability to perform. And then one of the final concerns that I'll mention is the concerns about trust, intellectual property, and professional credibility as it relates to confusion about whether content is AI generated or human generated. And where is the line in all of that? Concerns about AI errors, and we're hearing a lot more about AI hallucinations. And the more you use AI, the more likely it is to provide a hallucination, which is to basically tell you what you already think you know rather than give you accurate data. And what happens when the AI breaks, and what's the impact on reputation when that happens. So those are some of the fears. They relate to human behavior. So what do you need to know about human behavior and AI adoption? The first thing to understand is that there are typical normal human reactions to any kind of change, including AI adoption. And in the work that Jerry and I do with Worldview Intelligence and Healthy Workplace Culture, we look a lot to neuroscience and behavioral science research to understand the human behavior. And there is a wealth of information out there, and I'm only going to touch on a couple of key ones here. So from neuroscience, we know that our nervous systems, they're hardwired for stability and certainty. And the moment we introduce something new into our environment, we're introducing a lot of uncertainty. And if we're carrying a lot of questions about AI adoption, that just feeds the uncertainty. And when we feel uncertain, that affects our responses and our behavior. Just a little side note on this, while we don't like uncertainty, we also like novelty. So when we're thinking about AI adoption, we want to think about how we cater to that. The roles that people assume are part of their worldview and also a part of their sense of identity. The psychological research tells us that when our identity is challenged, we respond as if our life has been threatened. So when we are asking people to change their role or aspects of their role, we're actually impacting their sense of identity. And the first response then is not often excitement. The first response is often resistance. And something to think about if you're the person who's leading AI or AI adoption, you may be very excited about it and the potential, but don't assume that your people share that same sense of excitement, at least initially. This is why some of the things that Jerry was talking about and Chris referenced around what is the vision, what is the impact that it's going to have, these things are really important to have clarity around. Also, when people raise issues and concerns with respect to AI, it's important to take that seriously and to address them, and not just to say, don't worry about it, we'll get around to that, or whatever. So related to identity is this idea of my expertise or certifications that I may have earned. And I think especially mid-career professionals who all of a sudden have AI thrust upon them, and what they've built their career on, maybe their skills are now obsolete. And it's not just a current threat, but it's a future threat as well. And just one example would be, right now, many AI providers are saying you don't have to know anything about coding in order to code. You put in your query, the AI will do the rest. So what does this mean for professionals who have developed expertise and knowledge as traditional coders? What happens to their role and to their earning potential in the future? It could mean their role shifts because oversight is still going to be needed. We're still going to need that human eye on everything. And if that happens, then do you still need as many traditional coders? So there's all these consequences to be thinking about. So when we're thinking about AI and the introduction of AI, lots of times, again, people are thinking about what's the impact that it's going to be on me. So a concept from behavioral science is loss aversion. And this is the idea that we will invest in the pain of what we are losing more than 2 times greater than the hope or expectation of what we might gain. So we're going to think, first of all, about all the things that we have, all of our experience, all of our identity, and how that's going to be impacted. That's going to lead potentially to resistance. So this takes me to the change curve. Jerry and I do a lot of work around the change curve, predicated on the loss curve, where people are, the first reaction when people hear about change is shock and denial. And when they get to that point, they're thinking about what's in it for me, and then they don't hear anything after that. And so after shock and denial, they move into anger, frustration, and resistance before moving to hope and acceptance. So we need to help people move through these stages. And a key way to do that is around communicating. And we say communicate, communicate, communicate. You can't communicate enough, and you can't communicate in enough forms, different ways of doing it. So you might think you're over communicating, but usually when you get tired of hearing yourself say it, people are just starting to get it. So that's like super fast. There's so much more depth that we could go into around all of these things. But the 3 key takeaways around the human impact is be transparent as you could possibly be, address the concerns. If you don't know what they are, ask people. The second one is engage and consult people. Make it safe for people to report on their AI use and their concerns, and to speak up when issues arise. Otherwise, you're going to get all of these workarounds. Ask people what problems they want to see solved with AI usage, and then check in to make sure that's happening. Put policies in place and engage people in their creation. Jerry's going to talk about that in just a second. And then the last thing that I would say is provide training on for AI skill development and consistency of use, but also on the policies that you're putting into place and what to do when the policies are not followed or they're not working. All right, Jerry, over to you.
Thanks, Kathy, and Will and Chris. As I'm sure you're beginning to gather, all of these things integrate together, whether it's the role of leaders in the company, clarity of why you're bringing the tool into the company and how it fits into existing technologies, the role of alignment, and attention to the human element, that human-centered focus and approach. And so the last thing in this little sort of 4-part conversation here I want to spend a little time on is, and we'll shift into Q&A afterwards, is the importance of good human-centric AI policies. As mentioned earlier, AI learns, it adapts, and it influences behaviors. This means that you can't just set it and forget it. You do need guardrails. And there are 3 big reasons why. First, trust and reputation. If your customers don't trust how you use AI, if they fear their data is mishandled, or they feel decisions are unfair, they'll take their business elsewhere. Transparent policies build confidence. For example, a few years ago, Amazon built an AI hiring tool to screen resumes. But as AI learned from past data and started penalizing women applicants because historically more men had been hired, that tool was scrapped, but the reputational hit was real. Another area is risk management. As Kathy noted, and Chris and Will, AI mistakes can be costly. They can happen and they can be costly. A biased hiring algorithm, an automated loan rejection, or a misused chatbot can trigger lawsuits, regulatory penalties, or a PR crisis. Policies help prevent those scenarios. In another example, a European credit agency faced investigation after its AI automated system was found to violate individual rights. Without strong oversight, what looked like efficiency became a legal liability. And third, employee guidance. As Kathy mentioned, employees need clarity. Without clear policies, employees may misuse tools by sharing sensitive data, relying on unverified outputs, or automating tasks that should not be automated. Policies define what's acceptable and what's not. In another example, Samsung employees fed confidential client information into ChatGPT to draft reports. They didn't mean harm, but the data exposure risk was massive, simply because there were no clear policies telling them what they could and couldn't do. So what does a good policy actually include? A few examples. It defines principles like fairness, accountability, and transparency. Make sure your AI tools align with your company values. It spells out rules for data privacy, security, and compliance. This is critical with regulations like the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, or new AI laws emerging worldwide. Your AI can assist, but humans must make the final call on sensitive decisions like hiring, firing, credit approvals, or medical advice to avoid biases. Your employees need training not just in how to use AI, but how to question it, which can help in spotting potential bias. And remember, AI isn't static. Regular audits and updates are needed to make sure the system is still performing as intended. The key is balance. You don't want policies to be so rigid they kill innovation, but they must be strong enough to protect your people, your customers, and importantly, your brand. Your business can also benefit from strong AI policies because the policies don't just reduce risk, they can actually unlock value. Take Microsoft. They've made a point of establishing clear, responsible AI principles. That transparency has helped them win contracts with organizations that demand trust and accountability. When employees know the rules, they experiment more confidently. Kaiser Permanente gave staff clear AI use guidelines, and within months, employees were building safe automation tools that saved hundreds of hours of routine work. Governments are moving quickly on AI regulations. Companies that have strong policies are ahead of the curve, not scrambling to catch up. So when developing your AI policies, be sure to consider that AI models may reflect or amplify existing biases, leading to discrimination in hiring, lending, or customer service. That you need to protect data privacy and security by ensuring compliance with regulations when collecting and using customer or employee data. And that governments are rapidly reducing AI-specific rules, so your policies need to be flexible. There needs to be limits on AI-driven productivity tracking to avoid workplace surveillance concerns, as Kathy mentioned, that can significantly impact productivity. And you need to clearly define approved use cases and forbidden practices. One thing you may want to consider is creating an AI ethics or risk committee. So, when establishing your human-centric AI policies, there are a few important things to consider in the process that will build support for and trust in the policies. And you've heard this word trust by all of us during this conversation. Employees want early involvement in conversations about AI policies before decisions are finalized. Bring employee groups and unions, if you're unionized, into the discussions from the start, not later. Bring different voices within your company. Employees, unions, leaders, and even customers can help surface blind spots and reduce bias. Listen to employees and co-create solutions instead of presenting final decisions. Share information about how AI will be used and its impact on jobs and work. This is key to building trust. Show how AI can improve work for employees, not just efficiency for the company. Consider ways that efficiency benefits can be shared, like salary increases or training or fewer work hours. And last, keep communication open as AI tools evolve, making sure employees and union reps are part of the review process. Having good AI policies will ensure that you use AI responsibly, protect privacy data, reduce bias, and build trust within employees and customers. So a couple of key takeaways: shape AI policies and employees' trust. Be transparent about how AI can and will be used. Focus on protections like fairness, privacy, and job security. And keep communications ongoing so employees stay true partners as AI evolves. Analytic-A has developed an excellent resource that can help you in developing policies that we will share with you after the roundtable. And now, Kathy, if you would host the Q&A session for us, if we do have some questions.
Yeah, so I'm noticing that I don't see any questions in the question box, but if anyone has one, feel free to put it in there now. And while we're waiting on that, I'm wondering, Will, and Chris, one of the things that we've talked about that we haven't talked about here in this roundtable is about guardrails. And I'm wondering if one or both of you would want to speak to that.
Well, I can start off a little bit, and Will, if you want to go in here too, I know you've got some examples too. But so some of the things that we talk about when it centers around AI guardrails is we're really, again, policies are absolutely important. Again, the AI guardrails are in place not just to protect the company or the organization, small, medium, or large, but it's there to also protect the individuals that are using the software or the ones that are receiving support from that software. So if I'm crafting a message and I'm using a tool and I'm somehow inadvertently putting, as the example was that Jerry mentioned, private data, right? Then that means I might be unwillingly or unknowingly disseminating private and sensitive information. So having AI guardrails in place to catch that is absolutely key. So those are things that as you're developing your policy, you're also developing your technical solution so that those adoptions are merged and mirroring one another as you go through this journey of adopting AI, whether you're just starting out or maybe you're an agency out there or company, small, medium, or large, that's already using AI, but maybe you have 4 or 5 different versions of AI. You have ChatGPT, you're using Perplexity, and then you're a Microsoft shop, but then so you're using Microsoft's Copilot. So the other thing we talk about is bias mitigation. We talk about security and protections. We talk about compliance, and then we talk about reliability. And reliability is really about, again, making sure the accuracy of the information. So a big thing I want to tie back to this again, the difference between AI and augmented intelligence, AI plus, is that you're the AI plus, you're the human, you're in the driver's seat. You're using it as an assistant to help you do certain functions of your job in your current role. It's like, think of it like a collaborative work partner, but let's say you don't have a physical human. And something I really want to bring up too about AI guardrails is AI is and was designed to be a helper. So if you think of it in that context, if I'm asking a question to AI and I need help with, as a market researcher, I need help generating a market strategy plan for XYZ company or my particular project, it's going to pull resources and information from all over the place. But if I don't have specific guardrails in place, developed, governed by policy and adopted in our technical solutions, then it's going to knowingly say, oh, I'm going to please you by providing you all this wonderful information. But if I don't know what I'm looking for, because again, I'm the master of my job, I'm in charge, then I could unknowingly and unwillingly send information to a partner or someone above me who makes decisions that could essentially violate, or worse, could give them false data that could cost money and cause the business to lose money because it had hallucinated. And that's what AI guardrails are there for, is to help prevent the AI from hallucinating in such a way that it gives you false representation. So Will, I'll pass it to you, sir.
Yeah, no, so a super thing a super easy thing that we tell our clients to implement. One is list out your trusted sources. So one example is you have a software platform, Adobe, for example, or Microsoft or SAP or Salesforce or something. A lot of those systems, they have really extensive support systems. They have very large support documentation. You can create an AI just to look at the support documentation and say that's the only place you can get support. Only look at the documentation. And when you then interact with the AI, you also then give it a very explicit instruction inside the persona, which is always cite your source. Then to Jerry and Kathy's point, then also make sure that you train your people, click the button and check the source. Read it, use your experience to validate what you're getting. And what's brilliant about that is when you start to train your employees to do that and you put those guardrails in place, you now have people who start to trust the results as it comes out. And you can start to build that understanding and experience in that. A very basic use case is giving it support documentation and letting it help you understand it. That's a really basic one that I've seen a lot of people use it for. And it seems small, but it's a really quick win for a lot of people who have to use those documentation portals.
Yeah, and thanks, Will. Again, I really appreciate that example. And Kathy, just I don't want to forget this: reporting procedures. In those policies, there's going to be reporting procedures. At Theory Analytica, we have a risk governance Gen AI policy, and then we have a general purpose AI policy. And the reason we have a risk and a general policy is because our general policy is just a general governance of how we operate with AI in our company, and what's expected of the employee and what's acceptable and what's not. Then we have the risk piece, and that risk piece hones in on if I'm using an AI tool and it presents to me false data, hallucination, or I'm receiving some sort of information that seems derogatory and violates our own user policies or governance policy for AI. I have reporting procedures, and my individual employees are trained on, oh, I have to email, IT support AI at companyname.com, whatever, or false report, whatever you have. So we have the same concepts for when you have cybersecurity receives emails when there's phishing attempts, or there's issues with the network. Let's say someone had a malicious virus on their machine and they need to report that there was a virus. It's the same concept. The only difference is it's centered around AI reporting, specifically on how the company manages the information and the information that is being used within the company and then shared externally potentially. Back to you, Jerry and Kathy, in case you have another question, or the audience, please.
Yeah, we don't have any questions in the question box, and we're down to the last few minutes here, so I don't know if there's any last thing that someone wants to share. Then, well, I can't.
Yeah. There is a question in there related to platforms different AI platforms that are good at certain things.
Oh, cool.
And the question specifically is there one that's really good at like academic research or publishings? So Claude is one of the natural language pieces that works really well at interpreting language and then bringing back bringing back something that's useful. So in these cases, so long as you can point the appropriate language model towards the body of work, so it just has to be an indexed body of work that the system can go through. One that we use at Theory Analytica quite often is Perplexity, which allows you to switch in between different language models based on what you're really looking for. Claude is in there, and it's very good. I also know that it's used by a lot of writers to do research before they write their books or their articles. So I'd definitely check that one out.
I'm so glad you caught that question, Will. Thanks. And thanks, Jillian, for asking it. I just want to say, first of all, Jerry and I are absolutely delighted to be working with Will and Chris, both here in this discussion, but also we've been in a lot of discussions over the last few months about how we're going to work together. Bringing our various areas of expertise together. Following this call, we are going to, early next week, we're going to send out a recording of the call, a call summary, a link to Theory Analytica websites and to our Healthy Workplace Culture website as well. There'll be bios, contact information. We'll be sharing the Achieve framework that Chris and Will have developed so that you can use that as a guide for your own policy development. And Jerry and I are offering free 30-minute consultation calls for anyone who wants to dive a little bit deeper into healthy workplace culture aspect. And Will and Chris are also offering to speak with anyone who wants to talk a little bit more on the things that they have shared. And I think that's it. That's what we got.
I just
So,
put in the
yep.
chat box that Notebook LM is a very useful platform and can be really quite, we use it, I use it a fair amount. And not only is it good for analysis, but we recently input a draft of a book that we're working on and asked it to make a video of the book. It was incredible. So.
No, that's really good. And I thank you, Jerry and Kathy, for that. I do also want to piggyback what Will said real fast. Claude is something that we're adopting at the federal agency level in the U.S. government because of the different languages it has the ability to source through. So to convert a document from English to French, you're talking within seconds. And it's specifically designed to help our public affairs teams that are doing posts and blogs and sending out flyers and so forth to help talk about like our nonprofit work at my agency that I work with. So that's just something I wanted to bring up just to piggyback. And last thing, Kathy, the Theory Analytica we also provided to the group. If you're interested, basically it's a 5-point guide on how employees should use artificial intelligence. It's just a checklist essentially. So it's an AI employee checklist. It talks about, how to use it, that kind of stuff, what you should look for if there's something you find that violates maybe your rules. It's just a simple checklist, nothing too much. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to everyone here. Kathy, Jerry, it's been a wonderful experience working with you. I want to thank Tony for hosting us. And again, all those who listen and ask the question again, Jillian, thank you. And God bless. Appreciate you.
Thanks to all.
Take care.